I turned myself on here. I want to welcome you to the Metroplan CAC. Today is June 24th, 2026. I am your chairperson, Judy Pizzo. Our Miss Favola is out enjoying some time off, and we have our new interim liaison, Miss Virginia Whittington, joining us here to keep me on the straight and narrow. I want to ask, hang on here. I'll get your name.
Jared Ruiz.
Jared, would you please lead us in this Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jared. So I want to remind all members that this meeting and all future CAC meetings are held in person, and it is important for members to be here so that we have a quorum. It's looking pretty light this morning. Members of the public are still able to participate virtually, and we encourage them to do so. I'd like to ask our members to please turn on your microphone before speaking and deactivate it after your remarks. This will help to ensure everyone is heard by those in the room and online. I also want to mention we had 4 brand new members join us here recently. That was out of 25 eligible applications. So our positions here are, dare I say, coveted or desired, or yes. So we can be easily replaced. And part of my role as chair is to keep the meeting moving. And at times that can be a bit of a challenge. I want to remind all board members that we want to keep our questions and our comments pertinent to what our presenters are discussing. I also want to remind our board, and I wish there was more of us here, that your comments and questions don't become a conversation between yourself and the presenter. If you have more than one question or comment that comes up in the course of the response, ask me if you can further continue the conversation. I also want to remind everybody, let's keep our personal business and interests out of the conversations, out of respect, not only to the presenters, but to the other fellow board members. Let's keep our time moving. So now I will ask Ms. Virginia Whittington to do our agenda review. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, and good morning, members. Those who are in the audience this morning, thank you for joining us, and also those who are online. I am Virginia Whittington. I'm the Director of Regional Partnerships here at Metroplan Orlando. I'm going to be serving as your interim staff liaison. And Leilani Vayonga, I don't see her. Okay, she's on a call, but Leilani is going to be my backup in case I am not able to participate in your meeting, but for the time being, I will be your staff liaison. Metroplan Orlando is undergoing a strategic plan, and that may right size our staff, our office, our liaisons, our workload, and so we're waiting until the results of that strategic plan is completed. I have a couple of announcements for you this morning. The first is that our offices will be closed next Friday, July 3rd, in observance of the 4th of July holiday. And then beginning in mid-July, our office is going to undergo some minor renovations. We're calling it a refresh. And that's going to last a couple of months into September. The reason I'm telling you is because your next meeting after this one is in August, and it is possible that we will have either meet in an off-site location, or your meeting may be virtual on Zoom, but we will keep you posted as renovations are happening here. We've been told that they can accelerate things if we're out of the way completely, and so we'll keep you posted. When your agendas were sent out, our 2026 Regional Transportation Survey report had not been finalized. So we included a one-pager with key findings in your agenda packets. You find that at section 4. Since that time, you received your agenda packet. We've uploaded the final report to our website, and you should have received a copy of our Mo Digest. And that digest was emailed to you, informing you not only of the release of that report, but also other Metro Plan Orlando activities that are happening. TIP Tuesdays were going on at that time, and we have some road safety audits that are underway. So it was just a combination of information that we were able to send out informing you. Dr. Sarah Strickhauser, who is our researcher with Summit Research, she's here this morning, and she will be presenting a formal presentation on those survey results. I want to thank you, those of you who were here at your last meeting, for helping us to celebrate Ms. Marianne Horn on her retirement. Her last day with us was June 12th. And she rode off into the sunset. And I hope that at some point we will look online and see that she is either peeking in or has been online, but we had a good time wishing her well. Speaking of last days, today is Mike Wilson's last presentation of the safety moment to this committee. Mike will also be retiring at the end of this month, and won't steal his thunder. I'll let him share about his next chapter when he comes up. But following Mike, Jonathan Scarf is going to come with your FDOT report, after which Madam Chair and members will be prepared to move forward with the agenda. I think we're like 2 away from a quorum now. But there are 1 away from a quorum. All right. So we'll be ready to move forward with the agenda. There are no changes. And so thank you. And if you all will now welcome Mike Wilson with the safety moment.
Good morning. Thank you, Virginia. Good morning, everyone. When I was about 15 or 16 years old on my learner's permit, driving one day with my dad in the passenger seat, and driving down a collector road, and there was a car coming from a side street. Now that driver had a stop sign and didn't really think much of it. But after I went through the intersection, my dad said, you probably should have covered your brake back there. I said, well, what does this have to do with distraction? Well, at our latest safety speaker series, we had Dr. Jennifer Katzenstein and Dr. Patricia Tice to talk about distraction. And what we learned from them was that what's going on in our heads is often more important than what's going on in our hands. We spend a lot of time talking about devices, but Dr. Katzenstein was talking about how things like anxiety and depression, all things that are going on in our emotional lives, can have an impact on our ability to drive effectively, affecting our attention, our reaction time, et cetera. And then Dr. Tice was talking about how our road systems can unfortunately contribute to our desire to be distracted. When we build a freeway, it's good that a freeway is boring, because we need to be going fast. We need to kind of minimize things that we're distracted by. We're not going to have hopefully pedestrians walking out in front of us, or we don't have driveways, et cetera. But when we start bringing freeway style design into our surface streets, where we do have those other interests and conflicts, that gets to be really dangerous. And we also don't want our environment to be exhausting, right? What we're looking for is this good middle ground where we keep drivers engaged. So unfortunately, currently we've got our internal dialogue, which can distract us. And then we have an environment that sort of invites that distraction. The whole point that both of them were making in our speaker series is that maybe we need to do less moralizing about distraction and have more understanding. And I give some thought to that as when we look at the Vision Zero principles, and 2 of them that I'm highlighting here is that humans make mistakes, right? And a lot of that comes out of these issues that I'm describing now. But another important one is that safety is proactive, which gets back to what my dad was telling me, right? To be proactive myself. Okay, we do that as we're trying to do that as planners, right? To get ahead of the issues with our design. But we can also do that as road users ourselves. So when we look at these two key issues of making mistakes and being proactive, yes, reducing speed is going to mitigate the consequences of our mistakes. But we can all drive and cycle and walk defensively, so that when somebody else makes that inevitable mistake, we can compensate for it. And what I want is for everybody else to be driving defensively, because I'm going to make a mistake sometime. All right. And I also want to leave you with a quote from a good friend of mine. Carrie and I developed the Cycling Savvy program over 15 years ago. And she had a realization after she learned some new strategies about cycling and traffic. She said, when I changed the way I ride, suddenly all the drivers got so much smarter. And this doesn't just apply to bicycling. It applies to all of us who are traveling the roads. If we think about our role in the system, how can we be proactive? How can we be defensive so that we can all get home safely at the end of the day? And that concludes my safety moment for this month. And just want to say to you all that it's been a real pleasure speaking before this committee all these years, working for this organization all these years. In a in a little over a month, I'm going to be heading west. My wife and I are going to be settling in Vancouver, Washington, and enjoying mountains and forests. So that's it for me.
Well, congratulations, Mark. Enjoy your time.
Thank you.
Anybody? Okay, no questions for Mike before he leaves? No.
I love this.
Go ahead.
I just want to say thanks for being you. You have been such a guiding principle through this process for me as long as I have sat in this chair here, and you have done a fantastic job. So thanks again for just being you and the job that you've given.
Thank you.
You're going to be hard to replace. Ms. Mott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo what my colleague said as well. And just thank you so much for the awareness that you created in regards to this Vision Zero. Thank you for your passion, because you made us all a lot more aware of things. And I've been very excited to share that information with constituents and friends and family, which created more awareness on people paying attention and putting down their phones and things of that nature. So thank you so much for your commitment to Metropolitan Orlando and to safety beyond. And congrats to you and your wife on your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my comment.
Okay, and I have Mr. O'Hanlon.
I'd like to expound on Ms. Mott's comments. Not only did you educate us, but the phenomenal piece of it is you gave us the information to go out in the community and educate so many people in the community. And this zero fatalities things, you know, people just start off and look at you like you're a fool and it's ridiculous. But then when you say, okay, what if it's your brother that died? All of a sudden, now it's no longer ridiculous. So putting the perspective on these things to make them more effective was priceless. Thank you.
I hope you still, once you come back from Washington, that you're still engaged in the industry of safety in some way, shape, or form.
I'll be keeping my fingers in a few things. Yes.
Keep your thumb in it. Thank you again, Mike.
Thank you.
Yep. And we have coming up to the board here, Mr. Jonathan Scarf with DOT.
Morning, Madam Chair, CAC members. Thank you for the opportunity to share some district-wide news this morning. I'm going to change gears on you a little bit and talk about hurricane season. So as June 1st marks the official start of hurricane season, I want to assure this committee that the One FDOT team is fully ready to serve. As Floridians and transportation professionals, emergency response is second nature to us. Our team operates as a well-oiled machine. Excuse me, let me get my slides kept up here. There we go. Sorry, I just noticed that was going. So as mentioned, we operate as a well-oiled machine, and this is due because we take proactive year-round approach to storm planning. We are uniquely equipped to respond quickly and efficiently to even the most severe infrastructure impacts. And so I want to share with you this morning as a brief video from our PIO team.
We are thinking of the millions in the path of this hurricane, the Category 4 hurricane slamming into Florida's southwest coast this afternoon. Ian making landfall right near Fort Myers.
Less than 3 weeks after Hurricane Ian destroyed Florida's Sanibel Island Causeway, the bridge reopened yesterday.
What many thought would take 6 months, the governor pushed us to do it faster, and we delivered.
Ever since this storm, Milton, made landfall, the hurricane force winds, we can really start to feel it.
We are seeing ferocious gusts of wind.
We staged our assets, our bridge inspectors, our team members, our heavy equipment. We do plan to have all of our resources and heavy equipment and contractors staged north and south of the cone. We will be pushing in with full force to clear roads, inspect bridges, assess damage, and begin repairs as quickly as we possibly can. Every minute that a road or a bridge is down after a storm comes through can hinder the life safety mission.
Check this out. This is how I can afford this Jeep.
We'll get to that later. But as you can imagine, these continuous preparations are vital. They ensure we can protect Florida's communities, rapidly clear our transportation networks, and support regional recovery, just as we have demonstrated through our response achievements over the last few years. So we've had a couple heavy hitters over, well, not last year, but the previous year. Milton was pretty rough, and just as the secretary pointed in that video, we all serve, even call myself an office troll because primarily I'm speaking to you or working in an office, but we go all hands on deck whenever hurricanes hit. I actually served with the Flagler EOC team with their county. So we're dispersed throughout the state, pre-staged and ready to go. So I just wanted to share that with you this morning. On one other note, I received a lot of resources just recently last night, so it didn't make my slide deck this morning. But we did hold our I-4 truck parking groundbreaking event on Thursday, June 18th, and we held it at the Future site here in Seminole County. So with that, following the committee, I'll be providing some electronic copies, but I also have new brochures that outline the sites, locations, and the updated information for each of the sites, which in total will be 917 on our I-4 corridor. And 3 of those sites are going to construction in 2026, and that would be the Seminole County site and the East and West Volusia sites, so just a little bit north. And then our Orange County and Osceola sites will follow construction, with construction beginning in 2027. So it's kind of it's a big deal to do the groundbreaking there, and we're excited to see those projects get off the ground. Any questions, Madam Chair? I will make myself available if there's any very specific question you want department related, but that concludes my update this morning.
Okay. I do see one question. I do want to say, though, that I believe Ms. Frederick had provided the link to Secretary Tyler's speech or presentation, I should say, on the flying, what do we call that?
VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing.
Okay.
Also,
it was a very interesting presentation, and if you hadn't had the opportunity to check it out, I encourage you to do so. The future is now. Mr. Hanlon, you have a question.
First, I'd like to again congratulate you guys for the phenomenal job you do for our state. Whenever you talk to people that are from other states that do nowhere near the good job that you do here, they're always jealous of us. So keep up the good work.
Thanks, sir.
The question I have is one that I've asked probably over the past 2 years, every year, is have we done a reanalysis of the elevations of our system to see which roads potentially are going to be in trouble with the unbelievable amount of rain that we're having due to the changing climate? That is one additional way we can try and stay ahead of the curve.
I will touch base with our SIS coordinators and see when I'll provide you with the latest update on the SIS system or when it was last looked at.
Okay, yeah, if you just send that information to Ms. Whittington, that's great.
Yes, ma'am.
I see no other questions or comments. Thank you, Mr. Scott, for your presentation. I would like to now ask Ms. Frederick to call roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If members can please remember to use their microphones when responding. Ashton,
Present.
Bankalari. Present. Caesar,
Present.
Campbell,
Present.
Dole,
Present.
Grillo,
Present.
Heath,
Present.
Jones,
Present.
Morales,
Present.
Mott,
Present.
Mueller,
Present.
O'Hanlon,
Present.
Pigram,
Present.
Pizzo,
Present.
Ruiz,
Present.
Rump, Webster,
Present.
West.
Present.
Madam Chair, that concludes the roll call. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Frederick. We will now hear public comments on the action items. We ask that you provide your name, address for the record, and please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. If any member of the public wishes to comment and is joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized. If you are joining us using your phone only, please dial *9 on your phone keypad to be recognized. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
No
Ms.
hands raised online.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to make public comment?
No comments received.
Thank you, Ms. Frederick. At this time, we will move on to the action items. We have 3 to consider today. The first action item is approval of the minutes from our May 27th, 2026 CAC meeting. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, members, please remember to use your microphone and state your name when making any motion or a second. Is there a motion for approval?
Teresa, Madam Chair, I move to approve minutes from May 27, 2026.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Joseph Caesar, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Our next action item is a request for recommendation for approval of the fiscal year 2026-27 and fiscal year 2030-32 Transportation Improvement Program. Presenting this morning is, Miss Natalia Barbour. Are you recognized? You're recognized to present, excuse me.
Natalia Barber, Metro Plan Orlando. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Today, I'll do a quick refresh of my presentation from the last time, and I'll ask about your approval of recommendation for the Transportation Improvement Program fiscal year 27 to 31. So for the new members in particular, a quick reminder what the TIP is. That is a 5-year document with all the federal and state funded projects for the region. It's updated annually, and it sets the schedule for improvements to the transportation system by assigning available funding. There are 10 TIP sections, and I went over them last time. This is just a reminder. The second slide shows the state, federal, and toll funding and how it's divided between those sections. The largest section is interstate and strategic intermodal system, followed by state highway system. Then this is a MPO, so Metro Plan's funding, and how it's split up between 4 primary sections that go from active transportation, TISMO, transit capital, and urban corridor improvement projects. Metro Plan contributes to 35 projects for $145 million over the next 5 years. So there are some minimal differences between the document I presented to you last time and today. So we sent a request for comments to our partners, and they came back with a few suggestions, and we incorporated them into the new document. We updated section partner funded projects, a few mapping updates, updated Appendix C to include the latest data, as well as we included the link to CFX work plan. We hosted Tip Tuesdays, and it was really fun because we got to visit 3 counties from Orange, Osceola, and Seminole. The pictures you can see on the screen. We had about 50 to 60 people who showed up and asked questions, learned about what's coming to their neighborhoods. Here's the summary of public comments. The main themes that we observed were related to bicycle and pedestrian safety projects. There was one comment on congestion on John Young Parkway, Pleasant Hill, and Highway 192. Syncing traffic signals and retiming near Turnpike and Walmart in Osceola County. And last, improvement in rail service in order to cut down automobile traffic. So today I'm asking for your recommendation of approval for Transportation Improvement Program fiscal year 27 to 31 as it was presented to you. Unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Are there any questions from any members? Okay, seeing none. Is there a motion to recommend approval?
Make a motion to recognize approval.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Jeffrey Campbell, second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. This is a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none opposed, the motion passes. So thank you. The final action item today is a request for recommendation for approval of the 2026 I cannot talk today, prioritized project list. Our presenter is Mr. Slade Downs.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. And like you just said, I'm Slade Downs and here to talk about and take action on the prioritized project list update. So as a quick refresher, the PPL is updated annually, just like the TIP, and it covers all unfunded projects and project phases during the 10 years following the TIP, running from 2032 to 2042. The PPL basically identifies what's next, whether it is the next phase of a project or a new project entirely. It's consistent with our board's funding policies and also the 2050 MTP's cost feasible projects. So at our last meeting, you had the opportunity to preview the draft PPL and we asked for your feedback. We did get a few comments. Thank you for all of those who sent in comments. Most of those basically consisted of a couple of minor changes to project costs due to inflation, updates to a few project scopes based on design considerations, and updates to some project phasing. But the long and the short of it is there were no changes to project rankings on any of the lists. And with that, I'm keeping it short today. Unless anyone has any questions, I'm asking for your recommendation of approval of the PPL as presented. Happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Mr. Downs, and I am not seeing any, Mr.
Moving disapproval.
Oh, you're going right for the, okay, do I have a second? I need a second on the, thank you, Ms. Dole, seconds, that's. So having a first and a second, we have a motion. Is there any further need for discussion?
Madam Chair, Teresa, my point of clarification, did Mr. O'Hanlon said move for disapproval or approval? Okay, so he said disapproval. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, there was a second, so you got to clear it up.
I withdraw my second. Gina Dole.
Okay.
Motion dies. Motion dies.
Yes, okay. I just want to repeat, this has happened before in the past where we have a procedure and when you jump in, and I only heard the tail end, so please wait for me to ask for approval or disapproval. So now we're in this flux, so
This motion would die for lack of second.
So we're going to have the motion then dies for lack of a second. And so Alyssa, do we want a discussion here? And Mr. O'Hanlon, would you like to? I'm sorry. Call for a motion.
Sheena Doll, I make a motion to approve.
You make a motion to approve.
I second the motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Caesar has motioned to approve. Okay, now we're going into a discussion.
Sure, I can make my comments again. The future is going to look like nothing like this document plans for. And one day we will eventually wake up here and start planning for what the future is really going to look like.
I'm sorry, could you speak a little louder on that last part?
One day we will start planning for what the future is really going to look like. Everything is going to be automated. There are going to be no people driving cars. There are going to be no people driving trucks. Transportation costs are just going to fall to be unbelievably cheap. It's all coming and we've got nothing reflecting it. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Dole?
Is this a living document? Meaning that moving forward, if you see where changes need to be made, you can make changes to it?
Yeah, so we do update it annually. And so in that sense, yes, it is living. If there is a significant need for an amendment between the annual updates, we have the ability to do that. But in general, it's an annual update.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've had our discussion. We're going to have a voice vote now. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. The motion passes. We're ready to move on to presentations and status reports. Dr. Sarah Strickhauser of Summit Survey Research is here to present the key findings from the 2026 Regional Transportation Survey Research conducted this spring. Welcome, Dr. Strickhauser.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. My name is Sarah Strickhauser. I'm very happy to be here with you today to review key results of the public opinion research that we did this spring for the Regional Transportation Survey. So a little bit about the survey. We spoke with more than 2,500 residents. The survey was open March 9th through April 19th. And we had three main methods of data collection. That was an online panel purchased through an industry-leading survey company, a public survey that I'll talk about in just a slide or two. And then intercept surveys. Intercept surveys were in-person iPad tablet surveys across all three counties. The Metro Plan Orlando team led the outreach to communities both in person and online. So you can see some of the social media posts there and some of the team out in the field working through the instrument, the survey. There were 42 organizations that were directly involved in sharing information about the survey. So that would include the link and direct information to support the data collection. And they are listed there. That was local governments and other transportation planning organizations and local community groups. So we're very grateful to them. So we'll go ahead and dive into the results. The first question we ask people is how you get around the region. So specifically Orange, Osceola, Seminole County, not when you're on vacation, and in the last 12 months. So this is a check all that apply. Tell us, in the last 12 months, have you used any of these modes? So we see our top three: driving, walking, rideshare. The least frequently used: access links, automated shuttles, and standard or electric wheelchair. This year in 2026, we added microtransit as an option for residents to select, which is an exciting addition to the modes list that we have on the survey. In 2024, we did this 2 years ago, and we had new categories then as well. We asked about Brightline. We asked about electric scooters and e-bikes together. We went ahead and separated them out, as you might imagine at this point. And automated shuttles were just added. So we definitely see the landscape of modes changing rapidly. So we capture that. So once we have an understanding of how people get around, we ask about their challenges. So here we have highlighted top challenges for pedestrians and top challenges for cyclists. So for pedestrians, top challenge was no sidewalks available where I need them. For cyclists, it was not enough bike lanes on the road. But we have highlighted that this sense of safety is also a top concern for pedestrians and for cyclists. And I think we can kind of expect to see that, but I want to call out to when we ask drivers, so people who say, I drive when I go around the area, we also see that drivers are concerned about unsafe driver behavior from others on the road. So it's not just pedestrians, it's not just cyclists. The sense of concern about unsafe driver behavior is really a top concern for almost everybody. So I'll talk a little more about the concerns about safety, but just to do a pause, this is like Mike's retirement gift. Our safety win for the survey was that this awareness of the RRFB on the left and the pedestrian hybrid beacon on the right continue to increase as we ask people just the basic question, have you seen the sign? Have you seen this light? It's the first step in being able to use these safety measures appropriately is, have you seen them? Have you encountered them? So almost everybody has seen the RRFB on the left. That's 90%. So that's up from the past 2 times we've asked that question. And the pedestrian hybrid beacon on the right, 66% have seen that light, so a little bit lower. But just as a reminder and sort of a level setting us, that pedestrian hybrid beacon on the right, your very first one was installed on OBT in 2020. So not all that long ago. So an exciting win. The room for improvement is it's about a 50-50 split when we ask the question, do you trust that drivers will do what they're supposed to do when they get to the light? So about 50% of people say, I think so, I feel pretty confident using them. And another 50 are unsure or just really don't think the drivers are going to do what they're supposed to do and yield to those signs and lights. So we ask about e-micromobility, so that electric micromobility option. So for this survey, we ask about e-bikes and we ask about scooters. We don't ask a whole lot of follow-up questions, definitely something to look into in the future, but we do gauge who's using them, how many people are using them. The people we spoke with, it's about 1 in 10, say that they use an e-bike to get around, and a little fewer, nearly 1 in 10, use the scooter. We have these quotes on the slide because we didn't ask specifically about people's opinions or thoughts on e-bikes or scooters, but they came up in other responses to other questions. And so we wanted to highlight, on the top, I'd ride Lynx more if I could get my e-bike on the bus. When we ask about getting to doctor's appointments, I'll talk about that in a moment. People are thinking, well, if I had an e-bike, I might have been able to get to that appointment. And then of course on the left, concerns about a safety for e-bikes. So just calling out that it's top of mind for people. It's starting to be a mode that's integrated into the daily, the thought of how do I get around this region, even really without us asking and prompting for it. So I said on that first slide for the challenges that unsafe driver behavior is this top concern for cyclists and for pedestrians and also for drivers. We know from 2024 in this same survey, 94% of people say, I want to live in a pedestrian and a bike friendly community. We didn't even ask it again this year because it was like, okay, we have consensus on that's true for most people. So there's concern around unsafe driver behavior. There's this desire to live, in a safe environment where I feel like I can walk and bike. However, part of that story is that 60% of the people we spoke with, and you might imagine that's a little bit more potentially, admit to engaging in risky driving behavior. And so it's likely that the same people that want to live in a pedestrian bike friendly community are also potentially the unsafe drivers. So those are people who say, yeah, it's okay to text and drive. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to speed when the roads are clear. They say it's a yes, no question. There's no spectrum here. Yes, I have had road rage in the last 12 months and driven aggressively, in response to another driver. And again, those are just the people admitting to one of those. So we can imagine that 60% is probably higher. So this is just hopefully helpful data to show that it's challenging to meet the desire and the demand for bike and pedestrian friendly communities while combating that risky driving behavior. We asked for the first time in 2020, well, it's 2021, and asked it in 2024 as well, and again this year, have you missed or skipped a doctor's appointment specifically due to a transportation issue, not having reliable transportation? In 2024, that was 1 in 4, so about 25% of people said, yes, that has happened to me. That rate is a little bit lower this year at 1 in 5, or 20% of people saying, yes, I have had that experience. And we had lots of discussion about that. We did a deep dive into why that might be in 2024, which prompted us to ask this year, can you tell us what happened? So they had an open-ended box, and they were able to describe exactly what it was that kept them from getting to the doctor's appointment. So we have on the right themes from those qualitative responses. So some of the most common things mentioned, and it's tricky because it's not something we necessarily could do something about here at MetroPlan, but it's a helpful piece of the context, which is a lot of people say the doctor's appointment is really far away. So this first piece of like, well, first I had to go across county. I had to go, very far to get to my appointment. Then you can imagine that the appointment is in a very tiny window, as we all know. You can be 5 or 10 minutes late, and beyond that, you've missed the appointment. So there is this sense of accessibility just in the distance people have to travel. And then there's this story of disruption. So even people who have multiple mode options, I have a car and I have a friend that could have taken me and I have Uber downloaded on my phone, all of those things fell through for one reason or another. The car wasn't usable. Somebody in my household needed to use it. My friend wasn't available. And I have to tell you so often that high cost, the bullet number 3, a lot of stories end with, I know I could have used Uber, but it's too expensive. So if you're thinking about how far the transportation need is, the distance to the appointment, it's expensive to have, Uber and Lyft as your backup, even though people know it's available. So just thinking about how our transportation system serves as that backup is important to move away from this the reliance on things like Uber and Lyft for people. And then mobility challenges, many of those trying to get to doctor's appointments do have mobility challenges. They have pain, wheelchair accessibility, things like that, also kept them from getting to the appointment. As the chair mentioned, the future is now. This is always a very fun spot in the survey to ask about emerging technology. So in the past, that was electric cars. We had just started asking about that. Then we were asking about driverless technology, and we still ask about that. Driverless comfort is increasing, but still is, people are hesitant. People are interested, for example, in driverless buses, but still want an attendant on the bus, things like that. So for the first time in this survey, we ask about advanced air mobility, and we give respondents the example of air taxis. Have you heard about them? And what have you heard? Is it positive, negative, or a mix of both? So 1 in 4 people say, oh, I think I've heard of them. And it's like a 50-50. I think it's positive. I think it's negative, which really is just, I don't know a whole lot about it. And basically the same thing for unmanned aerial vehicles. And we give the example of cargo drones. And even fewer people have heard about those. And again, a mix of positive and negative. So it's nice baseline data, and we'll keep track of it as those emerging technologies become more prominent. We ask about public transportation, transit, just open-ended questions. We say, I would ride Lynx more if, fill in that blank for us. I would ride Sunrail more if, fill in that blank for us. We see a lot of the same responses as we do most years, but we think it's important to continue to bring to these committees and boards that the desire for more stops and stations, faster service, and then service on nights and weekends, of course, specifically for Sunrail, those continue to be desires for residents in the region. I mentioned we asked about microtransit as an option for a mode. That's the first time we've done that. And we had 1 in 10 people say, I've used microtransit. And so we'll keep track of that to continue to watch how that number changes. And our last topic, funding, that funding is a tricky thing, but we ask about it to bring it to you to continue conversations about what that looks like, what people are thinking and is top of mind for them. We ask generally, would you support an increase in taxes, fares, and fees if it meant improvements in transportation? We see about 57% total say, yes, I would, but that's just the first part of the story. The next question that we ask is, oh, okay, if you feel like that's an option for you, which tax, fare, and fee would you be interested in? That's where it gets a little hairy. I don't have a slide on this, but the most common, most favored increased tax would be the visitor-based tax. It always is when we ask people. We know that would take a policy change to implement, but 70% of people say, yes, I think we should, we could pass that on to the tourists. But after that, it's sales tax and increasing tolls that don't get quite the support that a visitor-based fee gets. And then our last question, we added this one, kind of getting away from all of the complexity of asking funding questions. We say, if there was available funding, if there was extra funding, where would you like to see it go when it comes to transportation? Just an open-ended question. And so these were some of the themes pooled and then quantified for the chart. So, more bus links, links routes. So increases in transit. Of course, roadway improvements, as you might imagine, was second. And then a little more about, Sunrail and transit stops, and then improvements to pedestrian and bike friendly communities. So I'm happy to take any questions, and our contact information is there. The full report is available online now, and then you have your one-pager in your packet today.
Okay. I am trying to read your name. Christine, we recognize you. Christine.
Thank you. I was curious I didn't see the full report, but are the age demographics in the full report so we can see who actually took it? Because I don't know what your normal participation rate is, but 2,500 out of like 2.5 million is a very small number.
It is. It is a good question. So our key demographics, so things like age, race, gender, the distribution of Orange Osceola Seminole, all of those are reflective and proportionate, not exactly, but to the most recent census data. And so in that way, the data are reflective.
Is that all in the report that we can look at?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Speculator. Next, recognize Jared Ruiz.
Thank you so much. I have two questions specifically, if that is okay. One of them is relating to, similar to what Christine said, the 2,500 out of roughly 2.5 million is a small sample size. It's not unrepresentative statistically, but it is fairly small. Last time the survey was run, I remember when this year was going that I was looking at that and we got closer to 3,000. So I'm not sure if it's a Metro Plan thing entirely or if it's something that Summit Research can also potentially help with, of determining what is the best way of getting people to actually answer the survey.
Mm-hmm.
Because with such essentially a 0.1% of the population answering, it's a good bit of information to have, and I think it is helpful 100%. But I worry about it being a little too self-selection biasy.
Sure. Yes, I totally hear you on that. I have lots to say about that, but maybe we can talk after.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I know the last time this was run, it was a relatively similar sample size, and I just looked to see if maybe we can get more people involved in it, especially with such a lower sample size. It's probably the people who actively take transit, who actively drive and are pissed about the traffic times on I-4 and stuff like that. My second one is, so you added several, if that's okay, if I can continue with the second one.
Yes.
Is you've added several things to the new report for the 2026, the new survey for 2026 that were not on the 2024. What is the process for potentially doing that? Just because I know when this is run again, there might be several things that I have a suggestion for and others as well. What do we do on that for suggestions of ways that people might want to, like take transit and stuff like that?
First, thank you for being excited to be involved in the survey design.
Yes.
Portion. So that I work directly with Virginia and her team.
Okay.
We move back and forth between, comparing what we've asked before, what were the results? Do we feel like this question is pertinent to continue asking, remembering that this, taking a survey I'm trying to think of a nicer word, but it does burden people, it takes time to do. So we go through and we make sure everything that we're asking is really important, and we want to ask it, what do we want to add? Now we're, lengthening the survey. Do we want to do that? And then I know, Virginia, you pass it to other members of Metro Plan Orlando for feedback.
Yes, it's a layered approach that we take. We review it with the researcher. We review it internally. We look at emerging technologies, which is why you have the questions about the advanced air mobility and the UAVs. And then we take it to our planning team to make sure that there are questions that they may have. So I'll just end with this. If you have something, any of you, that you're interested in, please feel free to email it to me. We'll keep it, and then we'll take a look at it as we're developing the survey for the next time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, and great presentation and recap. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Caesar, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I kind of wanted to piggyback on there, just asking, is there a outside of those main demographics, do you separate between people where the region that they live in, if they're rural or if they're living in the city? Because I think those things also would influence their answers. So just kind of thinking about that, because I think when you are surveying people, and since we have such a small sample size comparative to the total population, it is important to also notate where they live, because that would dictate a lot of their answers.
Yes, definitely. Urban, rural, suburban. If we parse that out, we would see differences in opinions for sure. We do collect zip code, and we could map it in that way and mark it, urban, rural, suburban. In your appendix, I mean, it's not specifically to that point, but all of the data are broken out by county. So you at least have that for every question.
Mr. Mueller, you're recognized.
Thank you. Great presentation. I appreciate it. This is the first survey that I think I've seen where it's broken down, the micromobility is broken down. So I appreciate that. My question, you had one survey up there that said 1 in 10 people have used a micromobility device. I'm assuming that's 1 in all 10, the whole survey collection, right? Not just the people who ride bikes. So what would be interesting to know is how many people that actually ride bikes ride micromobility. That's what I'm interested in, because I just see it everywhere now. It's all micromobility. There's hardly any pedal bikes on the road anymore. So I don't know if that's in the report, but that would be a good stat to know. Thank you.
It's a really interesting point. I did look, it was like, my question was, are e-bike users and scooter users, electric scooter users, are those the same people? And they're not. So most e-bike users do not say that they use scooters. So to your point, then, to take that further and continue to parse out how they kind of group together using modes and how they sometimes do not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And staying on that topic, my question was regarding the e-bike and scooter users. Did you have it broken out by age group?
I did look at age. So we only survey adults. So there's that.
Okay.
So everybody's 18 and older. But the research question behind that for me was, is it all young people? And it's really not. So it's most e-bike users are under 50. And then we had a few over 50. So it wasn't nobody over 50 is using e-bikes. That's not true. But most people are between 18 and 50. So it is certainly more common for younger people, but it's not exclusive to them.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Ruiz, did you have another question? No. Morales. you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I just had a question about the greater awareness for the pedestrian safety of the signals. Is the visibility from the constituents have a correlation on which is better, which is more visible because it works better? And does that have a correlation on to which will be more implemented in the future?
That is a good question. That might be a little bit more in the planner's perspective. I think the beacon, the light that goes across, I think there are fewer of them.
Okay.
And they are more complex to use. So we see the trust in them is a little bit lower, the awareness significantly lower. But if I'm understanding how planners work correctly, those lights are going across many, many lanes.
Right.
And so they have to be that way. So it's an interesting question about effectiveness.
Right.
Yeah.
I do like them. I have to say that I living in Sanford, driving through the area, there's a big one in Sanford. Like you said, it goes over, I think maybe 6 lanes, and it's quite visible. It works very well. So I'd like to see more of those pop up, especially since pedestrian safety is such a big issue. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Great discussion on this, and thank you for your presentation. That was our only presentation for today. There are several items under the general information items, a list of upcoming meetings of interest. Our next CAC meeting will be held August 26th. So I hope everybody enjoys their 4th of July holiday and that it's safe for you. We are now to member comments. Are there any committee members who have any final comments? All right, seeing none. This brings up, we do have one. Christine, please.
Good morning. Thank you. I just wanted to share something about our overall transportation. I run the Down Syndrome Foundation of Florida, and we did a 16-week program called I Can Go, where we taught people with unique abilities to use links, access links, the limo system, Sunrail, and Ride DTO. And I just wanted to give the downtown links people and the downtown area 2 thumbs up. We took 18 people with Down syndrome out for 16 weeks. The service was phenomenal. Even the rerouting was phenomenal. I just wanted to say I have not been a downtown public transportation user, but I was completely overwhelmed with satisfaction, and I wanted to share that with this group. So if you've never done it yourselves, I think it's really a great service to our community, just getting around the downtown area, and just wanted to congratulate anyone in the room that's part of that. But highly recommend non-users of our public transportation systems to try some of the stuff downtown, because I think it helps us understand the needs that our community has. So I just wanted to share that with you this morning, that it was a really successful program, and hats off to the people doing the work downtown.
That's very good to hear and great feedback. Mr. Pegrin.
Yeah, just a couple of regional multimodal things. So on June 30th, the airport's supposed to be opening up 4 multi-use gates in the new terminal. So this will be gates that serve long-haul international aircraft, but also dynamically can serve 8 domestic flights. So as we talk about making those capital investments, it's great to hear that the airport's being dynamic in how they can use their assets, rather than just this gate can only do this one function. And that should hopefully relieve some of the existing terminal congestion that I think we all experience by being able to move some of those. So I'm happy to hear that milestone. It was originally part of Terminal C construction. It got cut out because of COVID funding concerns. So it's taken a while to make it happen, but happy to hear they've hit that milestone. And then Brightline in May had the 2nd highest ridership they've ever had. Their ridership was up 19% year over year. There continue to be debt obligation concerns, but there's thoughts about how they're going to manage that. But just exciting to see that demand continue to grow year over year for that service. So that's my comments.
Can I ask you, what's the status on Brightline to Tampa?
I believe DOT was approved last year by the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission for a $6 million study to advance the next phase of initial preliminary engineering and development.
Okay.
So I don't know, I defer to DOT on the timeline for if there's any public comment period during that design, but that's what I believe was approved last year.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes our member comments. This brings us to the second opportunity for public comments. Comments heard at this point in the meeting are more general in nature and similar to the first. Comments may be made in person or online. Members of the public joining us virtually who wish to speak will use the raise hands feature on the Zoom screen. If attending by phone, you can hit the *9 to raise your hand and request to be recognized. When you're called, staff will unmute your microphone and will ask you to state your name and contact information for the record. Ms. Fredericks, is there anyone online for us?
No one online with a comment, Madam Chair.
Is there anyone in public in person wishing to speak?
No comments received.
If there are no further business, our meeting is adjourned at 10:31. Thank you all for your attendance.